Hey there, hi there, ho there, hello there, and welcome back to another exciting edition of the Cardinal Couple Radio Hour podcast, where we endeavor to bring you the joy and excitement of U of L women's athletics. Certainly, some very exciting things that took place in this past week, and we're going to discuss those. Some more exciting things on the way for the upcoming week. We'll get into those as well. Certainly, a lot of good things going on right now in terms of women's athletics but let's like we used to do and I've done in the past. Let's go ahead and identify the participants today. We have a strong group of three in here. As Case is not with us, and I didn't get the reason why he wasn't going to be here, so I'm not sure on that one.
He
Daryl's
just doesn't like us anymore.
It's pretty much it. Yeah, he was actually buying billboards in the East End, telling people not to listen to the Cardinal Cup. Kind of sad, but I know. In case reason unknown, he's not here. Daryl is actually out in the southwestern part of our nation in Albuquerque, watching hot air balloons. And from what I understand, there's a whole passel of them out there, a bunch of them.
Yeah, big hot air balloon festival they have out there every year, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And hopefully she'll get a chance to have some fun with that. I think it's a whole weekend long event, so hopefully she enjoys that, and maybe she'll get a chance to get up in a balloon. I don't know if she's ever been in one or not. I've been once, and it's an incredible experience. So I highly recommend it to anybody who has ever had a desire to do it. If you got vertigo, you might want to pass. But okay, just my recommendations. Like I said, we got three in the house today. Jeff McAdams with us. Jeff, of course, survived some interesting volleyball over the last time we talked to him from now.
Oh,
But what else is going on, bud?
oh, same old work stuff. Having fun with work, so that's a good thing. Been in a new role for a few weeks, and I'm having the time of my life doing it. So, yeah. Sports has been, let's say, a mixed bag. Mostly good, but we'll get into more of that. So, yeah. I can't complain, I guess, is what I'm coming to there.
He's going to check in status okay. Nothing to complain about here. So very good. Jared Anderson with us. Jared's been taking a lot of pictures all over campus, it seems like, and doing a lot of different things with a lot of different events. Big event for you tonight. I'm sure you're going to be out at the big football stadium out there, Cardinal Stadium, to watch a little football tonight, Jared. But what else has been going on?
Yeah, looking forward to tonight for sure. Still nursing this, what I thought was a lower back injury, and now I'm kind of thinking it may be related to some type of sciatic nerve issues. I've been trying to stretch it out and loosen it up as much as possible, but it's not stopping me from getting to campuses. I was down there for women's soccer Thursday, field hockey yesterday. Be there again today, and then a twofer tomorrow.
We're going to try and get out tomorrow. We haven't decided which event we're going to go to yet. Uh, Not really sure on that. Probably end up at field hockey, but since they're having a little better season than women's soccer, but women's soccer is a little easier for me to get to, except for the 39 steps to get up to the top there.
Yeah, at least field hockey only gives you like 20 steps to walk.
Yeah, those aren't bad. The only thing I don't like is right outside the gate, coming in on the back end where the teams are.
No
There's
handrail.
there's no handrail for those like 3 or 4 steps there, and yeah, I don't like that. And I've actually been on them to build one for like the last year.
Yeah, it's against code. If you've got more than 3 steps, it's usually considered where you have to have a handrail.
As you can tell, I've been very successful in that aspect. I wonder if McDonald's would put one up just out of the goodness of their heart.
They
Probably
won't
not.
give you a French fry out of the goodness of their heart.
Yeah, that would probably be something. You know, yeah, probably not for McDonald's, but I guess that is technically U of L property, though, isn't it?
You're correct.
Okay, because I know the parking lot is McDonald's property there.
Yeah.
Because one of our ex softball players years ago decided she was just going to pull in there and park while she was at a field
Yep.
hockey event.
Bad idea.
Didn't work out so well when they had her hooked up and towing her away. She learned her lesson. asking me, yeah, just another week of doctors and such, and going through treatments and stuff like that. I'm getting to know the trip to Cincinnati and back by the back of my hand. I could do it in my sleep. Fortunately, I
Please
don't do it
don't.
in my sleep. I let
Please.
Sonya drive.
Yeah.
Yeah, we saw him around Dry Ridge when he was asleep. We don't know what happened. Uh, certainly, not anything that it's from where I have to go up there to my house. I can do it in about an hour and 45 minutes.
Mhm.
That's if traffic's good and smooth. Yeah, knock on pressed wood. That's not always the case. Sometimes Cincinnati can have problems, and certainly they have a big hill there in northern Kentucky
Yep.
that leads down to the city if you're coming up from Louisville, and leads up if you're leaving Cincinnati going to Louisville. And that hill can be very atrocious at times if there's a wreck on either side, because people on the other side will slow down and look at the wreck on the other side of the interstate. Why they do that, I don't know, but they do. But other than that, things are good. We have fun things to talk about today, and certainly, Jared, did you ever have any luck getting the schedule unloaded or anything?
Yeah, 25th try was a charm to get the composite schedule to load. So while I've got that cooperating, we're going to go straight on in. This morning, men's tennis already started down in Tulsa, Oklahoma. Football's got a big one on campus at 7:30 against Notre Dame, ranked to match up ABC. Avoid the area if you don't like traffic or crowds. Swim and dive remains on campus again today. Part of them. They did day one of the one-on-one meet against Auburn University yesterday, and they will wrap that up this morning. The other part of swim and dive started down in Dallas, Texas for the SMU Invitational yesterday, and that will wrap up today as well. Moving on to tomorrow, a lot of women's sports in action. Uh, Women's tennis will be out in Morgantown, West Virginia. Actually, it looks like they're starting today, but only listed on composite for tomorrow. Just looks like a West Virginia Martha Thorne Pink Invitational for this one. Good early season reps for them. Field hockey is back in action. Noon start against Central Michigan, the Chippewas. Field hockey is coming off a big win last night. Volleyball is on the road still, touring North Carolina still as
Still,
they
yeah.
as they face Duke at 1 o'clock, and then Syracuse or women's soccer hosts Syracuse on campus at Dr. Mark and Cindy Lynn Stadium for Senior Day at 1 o'clock as well. Field hockey, volleyball, women's soccer, all on ACC Network Extra, so online streaming for that. Moving ahead to Monday, men's golf is in action. For Tuesday, men's golf continues, but field hockey's got a random Tuesday game at noon. They're going to be on the road to face Indiana and Bloomington. This one is a Big Ten Plus, so if you're not willing to dish out some money, you're probably not going to be able to stream this one. Men's soccer's at home on Tuesday night against Ohio State. And then moving to Wednesday, we see some basketball, but it's actually men's basketball. They've got their annual red and white scrimmage going on, and it's 7 o'clock that night. October 12th, on Thursday, we do see swim and dive is back in action. They take on Tennessee down in Knoxville. That's just another one-on-one matchup again. Next Friday, pretty busy one for Friday the 13th in October. How fun. Cross country is down in College Station, Texas for the Arturo Barrios Invitational. Field hockey is on the road at Duke. That's a 4 o'clock start. Looks like it's probably going to be ACC Network Extra. I'm not seeing anything listed different for that at the moment. Softball continues their fall ball action. They will be up in Bloomington for a doubleheader against IU. Men's soccer's at home against Boston College. And then the big one that a lot of us have had circled on our calendar will be the volleyball versus Pitt match at the KFC Yum Center. 7 o'clock start time for this one. They're trying to beat the record crowd they set against Kentucky a few weeks back. So head on out there. Tickets are relatively cheap. So I'd recommend heading out there, and hopefully being a Friday the 13th in October, we'll see some type of promotional something come out of marketing. Hint, hint, marketing. But that gets us through the schedule for the week. We'll hit up Twitter /X real quick. Daryl, who's out today, is Daryl Faust 4. That's the number 4 at the end of her name. Case is best case scenario. That is BST, no E in the word best. Jeff has a couple Twitter accounts at Card Couple Radio. He got a lot of softball stuff out recently, and then at Jeff McAdams. Paulie tweets out his Cardinal Couple. I think he was trying to pull double duty with field hockey and volleyball last night, and I tweet out as Mr. Anderson Jared.
Yes, indeed. And all done in 11:10. Good work, sir. Zipped right through that.
Oh, we made it. I was just happy that I was able to get the composite calendar to hold off that long for me.
There you go.
Yeah.
Success with stuff that the Cards have. Also, just to kind of remind everybody real quickly about that too, the women's basketball luncheon, a very popular fan-friendly event that goes on each and every year, will be taking place again this year in the Grand Ballroom at the Gold House East. Always a great time and great affair there. We try to get to that every year we can. Certainly have plans on doing it this year. I've seen Jeff there in past years. And
Yeah, I don't think I'm going to make it this year.
didn't know whether your attendance would be there or not this year or not. But Jared, of course, I don't think you'll be able to get there to take photos, will you?
No, it's tough when they schedule these on a workday middle of the day.
Yep.
I can't take a 2.5 hour lunch break, unfortunately.
Yeah, the Monday kind of surprised me a little bit, but that's certainly fine and good. It'll probably sell out regardless of when they hold it or what day they hold it. It's fun. It's just interesting to see what media shows up. I think last year when Sony and I were there, the only media there was us, Nick Curran, and Eric Crawford. And that was it.
Just, not a bad crew. But
It's a great foursome. We
yeah.
had a lot of fun.
Yeah.
But they had 2 media tables with 8 seats each on them. So
Yeah.
it's just like we all sat at one table, and then, of course, the scavengers came in and stole all the free gifts off the other table, and we're trying to get our free gifts until the voice of reason stopped them. Matt Paris. But so it is a fun time. It would be interesting to kind of, we were thinking, would this be the first year that the girls are going to have to wear name tags? Because, I mean, look at it. There were 7 new faces on this table.
Well, it always seems like every year there's 1 or 2 surprise people showing up there.
That's true.
So, it's a little more of them, a few more of them this year than typical, maybe. But
yeah, I'm used to about 3, maybe 4 new faces on the team each year. So having almost an entire new roster will take a couple games to familiarize myself.
So last year's Josie Williams was fairly easy to identify, but
yes,
Christina Carr was.
But there have been a few years where it was just like totally out of nowhere. Like we didn't even know about the player, and then all of a sudden,
that's
somebody
true.
walked in, like Jessica Limley, right? Of course, she was a walk-on, but it was like, who? Who's this person?
Yeah, that's true. I think one year Sagan Robbins, we didn't know whether or not she was going to actually be on the roster, and then showed up for it. Didn't stay long, but was there. But it's always a good time. Walls always gives the keynote address at the end. They usually have a player come up and do, the devotional and things like that. It's just a nice little thing. I think it's $45 a seat this year. If you want to go, that's what it'll cost you. And the meal, it's let's face it, it's a banquet meal.
Yeah,
it's not going to be the best thing you've had, but still,
you will no longer be hungry.
That's right.
After lunch.
They will have tons of food there.
Yeah,
that's what they do with that thing.
It's usually a pretty good dessert,
and the desserts are always good. In fact, it's been kind of we always hope that nobody is sitting at our table so we can get an extra dessert.
Yeah.
And we were able to do that last year, if I remember correctly. Everybody who wanted one could have 2 desserts. And the Gold House did not come around and snatch up all the free desserts very quickly like they used to do at the Marriott. But anyway, come all out for it. Have some fun with it. we have things to talk about, though, in the world of sports, and we might as well jump right on into those. Let's go ahead and start with that very, very exciting game last night. We saw the Cards were playing field hockey and going after
For
Wake
somebody,
Forest
that's exciting.
team that, yeah, I mean, it was exciting from the aspect of, we may not win this thing. We
No.
need to score here. Are we ever going to score here?
Yeah,
Wake
I did.
Forest.
I was watching volleyball, so I didn't see the action on the field. But it's normally you think of exciting games as high scoring games, and this wasn't that.
No, not at all. It was a defensive struggle, a real battle. The Cards were trying to get some shots off early, couldn't get anything working. Their goalkeeper there, Ellie Todd, was Jared, I think, incredible with the stops that she was making in regulation. And of course,
Oh yeah, certainly a wonderful performance by her, and their corner defense was impressive as well because Louisville threw some corner looks that aren't your typical looks Louisville's run, but mixed it up with some that Louisville has done this year and had some success. So Wake Forest clearly did film study. Props to them for doing their film study and recognizing what they were seeing, because keeping Louisville over 9 on corners, it sucks on Louisville's side, but hey, got to give Wake Forest props. But it was just a great defensive battle. I know we'd like to see a lot of high scoring affairs, but it was nice to see two great defenses just going at it and pounding each other the whole game.
and this was certainly a defensive battle, would be the best term for it. I think you could say as the teams went through their 4 periods, tied at 0-0. Louisville and Wake Forest then headed to overtime. Overtime in field hockey. I'm sure you all probably have a general idea about this. They reduce the number of players on the field and they give them 10 minutes. It's sudden victory. First team to score wins the game. If that doesn't happen, okay, let's play another one. 7 people on the field, 10 minutes to score. If that doesn't happen, then they go to the shootout. And then whoever scores the most in the shootout, as long as you are the first one to get the 3, I think is the thing you're aiming for here. Is you pick out, from what I understand, if I remember correctly, is it 5 players, guys? I
I think it starts at
Yes.
5. Yeah.
It's 5
So
players.
it is the best of 5.
Yeah.
I guess if you don't get that far, then you may not need them all, which worked out in Louisville's case last night, where they went up 4-1, and it was mathematically impossible for Wake Forest to come back. So the 5th Cardinal just never had to go up there.
Yeah, it was fantastic for the Cards in that shootout period where Bianco started it out, nailed one home. After that, Lauren Ebler was the second one up and got up there and banged one home. And then Riley Borlerton, who I didn't think would get one, but did, nails one in. And of course, it came up basically to Amy Plum. If she scores, it's over. She was able to score, and it was over. Wake Forest goes down to defeat, and the Cards go to 10-1 on the season, improve their conference mark to 2-1, and certainly a game that I think we all had penciled in as a W. But it was said a couple times, and guys, I think I agree with it. It's just that anything in the ACC, when it's team versus team in the conference, is not predictable. All
Yeah.
these teams are so close and so good and so near to each other in abilities and capabilities, Jeff, that
Across a lot of sports.
yeah,
Yeah.
field hockey, especially with just
Yeah.
7 teams. And I doubt all 7 get into the NCAA tournament, but I can think of 6 that can make it easily.
Yeah.
Jared,
It's not
was that
uncommon for all 7 to get in, but it's not every year.
Yeah, it would be. I think the one that might be tough this year would be Wake, just because
Mhm.
based on their record. But they've
You
certainly
do have to finish at least 500 to qualify for an at-large bid,
Mhm.
so that does set Wake back a little bit.
True enough.
they had a lot of fun with Justine Sauer's description of games last night on the broadcast too. If it's an exciting one, Coach Sauer likes to call it a rip snorter. And I think certainly the first time I heard it, I was interviewing her, and I asked her first impressions on the game, like I normally would do. She goes, "Well, it was a rip snorter today," and I was like, "Rip snorter," and I had started chuckling during the interview. I'm like, "Coach, is that an Australian term for a good game?" And she goes, "Oh yes, it's a bit different," and she goes into the explanation. But I had never heard rip snorter before.
Never. Interesting.
And so, anyway, it was a rip snorter last night. If you like the defensive game, and certainly a game that the Cards, I think there's a couple of good things here. We've won more conference games so far than we did all of last year. That's a good thing. Jared, I think it looked like also we showed that we were able to play a defense that would basically just shut down a very good foe in Wake Forest.
Yeah, and I don't think our defense has really been much of a concern this year. I think allowing 2 goals just once this year, and that was to North Carolina, and either shutting everybody else out or limiting them to 1 goal. So that's I think the defense has really been a strong suit. It's just what the offense has been able to do, and this season has been the big difference maker from last year.
It was a time before last night's game that I would tell you that, hey, if we can score twice, we got a good chance of winning. So I think it was 6 or 7 of our victories this year have been where we scored 2 goals. And in most of the cases, we held the opponent to just 1 goal, except for like when we played Miami of Ohio, we shut them out. We shut out Virginia. Of course, last night, 1 goal. I think they count that as 1 goal in overtime, if I'm not mistaken.
The graphic they put out listed it as a 1-0 win. Now that's not official, but
Right.
Yeah.
But certainly a good thing for the Cards. If they can score twice, they get the W. And it's held true so far. Because anybody that they've lost to, and of course, let's face it, the only team they've lost to is UNC, they weren't able to score. But they only gave up 2 goals. So things are good for that. Looking ahead, Central Michigan, Jared, from what I'm reading on them, not a very high RPI or not a team that I think we have to worry a whole lot about. But we kind of said the same thing about Wake Forest last week, and we got a big surprise, didn't we?
Yeah, you can never overlook a team. And maybe we underestimated Wake Forest a little bit, so it'll be an eye opener and just kind of the friendly reminder: hey, don't take any game for granted because that's how you lose games. I think I'm more concerned at this point is how well the team can recover after a really gruesome battle, just wore everybody down, especially when you go through a double overtime period. And if they can turn around in less than, I guess it was about less than 40 hours to be fully fit and ready to go for Sunday at noon.
And it will take a little bit of recovery time for sure for them to get back on this thing and get ready to, be ready to go out and play and play well. But certainly, Savage never had any trouble getting them fired up this year for games, and so that's a good thing. Let's hope that they can do it again on kind of an interesting Sunday match. Come on out, like I say, Jeff and I have talked about this. We've talked to you all about this. It's a fun atmosphere out at Traeger. It doesn't cost you anything to get in.
Yeah.
You got great seats. There's a McDonald's right next door if you get hungry. Is a condition to a concession stand there. Although I think at noon, I don't think the beer will be available yet, will it?
I think it will
Not
be.
until 1 o'clock.
Yeah,
I
it's
thought
at
they
1
changed
o'clock.
that. I thought it was at 10 a.m. now.
Oh, maybe it is. Well, if you bring some shampoo, you can always get a quick shower at halftime too.
You can join Jared out there as he's trying to dance with the water cannons.
Surf the water cannons, yes.
That's right. That would be a fun idea. We could lather you up, Jared, and then send you out there.
Maybe a bit chilly for Sunday to do that.
It might be because yeah, we're kind of in a cool snap right. Not cold, but kind of a
Mhm.
cooler than
Yeah.
normal snap right now. But
Fall arrived.
fall showed up. I decided to dump a whole bunch of tulip poplar leaves in my front yard. So nice to do that. Well, before we get into the volleyball a little bit, let's go ahead and go back a week or go back a couple of days, not a week, but certainly soccer was in action on Thursday night over Lynn Stadium. The Knowles come in here. I think they were either second or third in the nation, depending on what poll you want to look at.
Hmm.
It was going to be a tough match for Louisville to begin with, but hey, they were able to go through the first half. They held FSU to just 6 shots and no goals. And the field maybe a little bit wet, a little bit sloppy, but
Yeah, a
unfortunately,
little.
Aaron,
Constant rain the whole time.
yeah, a little bit. But that field really wasn't pounding up, was it, Jared? Did you could tell?
No, I think it's pretty solid drainage system there at Lynn Stadium.
Yeah.
But still, it's enough. You're looking at a wet surface, a few more slips, a wet ball, which helped contribute to Florida State's first goal. But yeah, but also at the same time, a rain game can also even the field a little bit more. I thought that played to Louisville's advantage. And even if you want to switch sports, I think if you want to highlight when Louisville upset Florida State in football many, many years ago in that
Oh yeah.
torrential downpour, it really does even the playing field. Uh, so I thought it kind of played to our advantage for a while.
Yeah, well, that was a memorable game as well, where they.
Hmm.
It was that game, and I think also when we beat Kentucky years ago over in Cardinal Stadium, where they actually sent people back out to their cars
Hmm.
to sit and wait for a while.
Yeah. Yep. They will do that for lightning to get people out of the facility. Yeah.
So of course we were all listening into the radio to see when we could come back in, and then finally we got the okay to re-enter the stadium, and not a lot of people came back in, but especially at Florida State, boy, that inning was crazy. But in this Florida State game, unfortunately, they had 2 second-half goals, Jared. Uh, and the first one that they got, Aaron Floyd had the right idea, but maybe the wrong atmospheric conditions to do it in.
Yeah, it's going to be really hard to kind of fist and deflect a ball when it's soaking wet in the rain like that. And it just kind of slipped off of her and went over into the goal. So that it was unfortunate in case, and I talked about it up in the press box, how that goal seemed to be demoralizing for Louisville. Their body language changed after that goal. The effort went downhill a little bit, a little more heads hanging down, not rushing the ball as much. So that goal seemed to be kind of the killer, the silent killer in this game.
Yeah, an unfortunate, and it turned out to really be the only goal that FSU would need. They did, of course, add a second one later in the second half to get the 2-0 win, but it was a different team after they did score that goal on the Cardinals' side of the ball, and kind of sad to see. But, so the losing streak goes to 3 now. The Cards will come back again against Syracuse and see what they can do there. This one will be one that, if I'm not mistaken, guys, this is a Monday game. Am I seeing that correctly?
For which sport?
For soccer.
When do we play Syracuse in soccer?
Sunday at 1 for
It's
senior
a
day.
Sunday game. Well, I don't know why. I don't know why in the world I thought it was Monday, but okay, it is senior day. That's right too.
Old and senile.
Definitely, I could wear that on the back of my jersey, and everybody could identify me. The 2 wins this year for the Cards in a season that has got some, fans a little bit upset about that, but certainly not anybody that has come in and I think, actually blown Louisville out of the ballpark, so to speak. In fact, if you take a look at the losses they've had, there's been a lot of one goal losses there. Notre Dame, I think, maybe was the one that beat us by the biggest margin in 3 goals. And of course, they had a heartbreaker down at Miami where the Canes scored with about 5 seconds left in the contest.
Like two.
It was close, yeah.
Yeah.
But with 5 games left in the soccer season, uh, what do you think, Phil? As we got Syracuse, Boston College, Clemson, Wake Forest, and Duke, and 3 of those on the road. How do you think this team's going to finish?
I don't know. A lot of those are really tough teams, but I was actually watching. I watched all of the FSU game, and I thought Louisville looked better than they had in quite a while. Right? Maybe that was weather equalizing, and it wasn't enough given the high quality caliber of the FSU team. I thought they played fairly well. Um, like a glimmer of hope there. But man, those teams you routed off. That's a gauntlet of high quality teams for the most part coming through there. So I'm not holding my breath for a lot of wins, but maybe we can see some quality play that we haven't didn't see as much early in the season. I don't know. That's kind of what I'm hoping for at this point.
When we looked at this schedule when it first came out, I remember we discussed the final 7
Mm-hmm.
that were on that schedule. And that, of course, was Notre Dame, Florida State, then Syracuse, Boston College, Clemson, Wake Forest, and Duke. And said, man, it would be almost a dream come true if you could go 0 for 500 in those 7 games. Uh, Considerably harder now that you've turned around and lost the first couple. But Jared, what do you think here? I mean, there's 5 to go, and then that's basically the season. Uh, can the Cards break 500 in those 5 games?
No, I don't see them breaking 500 at this point of the year. I could see 'em maybe getting a couple more wins. I think the match against Syracuse on Sunday, there's a really good chance Louisville can walk away victorious on that one. But Clemson, Duke, there's some tough opponents still on the schedule that are ranked. Uh, Clemson's top 10. It's going to be tough. I just can't see Louisville breaking 500. So I think after they play their final regular season match this year, that the season will be over. They're not going to qualify for ACC tournament. They won't be eligible for NCAA tournament.
Yeah, the tournament, of course, seeding, you pick up 3 points. If you get a win in conference play, you get 1 point for a tie if you tie in conference play. And I think if we take a look at it, I think the total Cards points were 4 going into Florida State. And I don't think that changed because they
No.
did, of course, get the tie against Virginia, and then they did beat Pitt. So I think 4 is correct.
Yeah, but 4 is not going to be enough. I think you're
No.
really looking at probably nowadays closer to 15 points or so, if not more, just due to the smaller field for the ACC tournament. When they took that down to 6, it just made it a lot more challenging.
Yeah.
Where these teams in the past,
I will say with the shift of not having overtimes, though, you're going to see more ties. You can see lower point totals overall in respect to that.
Yes.
So, not much, but a little bit.
And it does, when you take a look at the roster here, there is a lot of youth on this roster and a lot of younger players that have stepped up and done some pretty incredible things as freshmen and sophomores. And let's just put the hammer down again on the nail. Is that enough to save Coach Karen Ferguson Day's job?
It would be tough. I think you're looking at many years now of not living up to where you hope to be. And that's just, since Louisville's joined the ACC, it seems like the success rate has gone down by quite a bit. And I don't know where her contract stands at, but maybe she's going to retire. maybe Josh Hurd tries to get her to go one more year and just see how things play out.
I found it kind of interesting when we did attempt to interview her after a win the last time I was out there, and she refused to talk to the media. So perhaps she already has an inkling of what may happen at the end of the season. Hard to
Now,
say
I
for
do
sure.
believe had we pulled off the win against Florida State Thursday, I think absolutely she'd have been back next year, even with an under 500 record. I think
Yeah.
you beat a top 2 team, you've earned another year.
I was wondering, does FSU have much media there or any media at all, Jared?
They had their sports info director, but that was it.
That was it. Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they heard you weren't in attendance, so they just didn't show up for this one.
I know I had two yellow shirts ask me, "Hey, why weren't you at the field at the women's soccer game?" I said, "Well, I tried to do those 39 steps and I got to 37 and just said, nah, I can't go any further," and turned around and went back to the car. But yeah, and that's my dilemma. I love going there, but it's either walk all the way around half the building to get in, or I can take an elevator up to the second floor, or park right there in handicap park and then go up 39 steps. It's a good workout for you. Try it sometime. But okay, so we hope that women's soccer can do something well in these next and final 5 games of the year. But I think it's basically kind of a situation where they'll be trying to see if they can break 500, and I don't think that they'll be going to any type of postseason events. So we'll see. Of course, we'll move it on now as we go from outdoors to indoors, and we leave the friendly confines of Lynn Stadium and head down to North Carolina. Yes, down to Chapel Hill, where volleyball was in action against UNC, and the Cards beat UNC 3 sets to 1. Not the best of starts for Louisville, but they got a little bit better on after that tough first set and swept out. So, Jeff, your thoughts on this one?
Yeah, I really thought UofL had been in a bit of a funk since really the second set of the Stanford match. A lot of people point at the Notre Dame match and say, "Hey, they played, they easily beat Notre Dame," and I'm saying, "Yeah, I don't think they played that great in that Notre Dame match, but more a testament to how Notre Dame is not a great opponent." And I think that continued into this match. Although the bright side here is that it felt like they started climbing out of that funk maybe at the midway through the second set. Um, they started executing on basic volleyball skills, which they had been having trouble with. They started communicating better. They started putting together real transitions and quality play that we hadn't really seen since the second set of the Stanford match. I don't think so. That's a positive sign. Obviously getting the win is always good. But yeah, certainly the first set looked not great, and the first part of the second set looked not great. But then started kind of putting things back together. Hopefully, kind of patching the team execution back together for some better play through the back half of the season or so.
And it was something I never thought that I'd actually come out and say, but it looked like to me, Jared, that we were dominated in that first set on the line, on the net by North Carolina. Something you don't ever see out of a Cardinal team, getting dominated at the net.
Yeah, it was weird that the kind of the blocking and the net presence has been how the kind of Louisville lives and dies in recent years since Danny Busby Kelly took over. So getting beat, not just against North Carolina, but it seems like it had been quite a few matches. We were just getting beat at the net in general. It's uncommon in this era, and I kind of maybe it's surprised the team a little bit more too than what we thought.
After that first set, which unfortunately the Cards got beat, and it was not really a close set at the end either. The Cards lost that first set 25-19. But obviously, Louisville wasn't the only one struggling in that first set. The officiating crew was
Oh,
also struggling a bit too, Jeff.
that was the worst officiating crew I think I've ever seen in volleyball. It was terrible. I mean, they got the recalls, the reviewed, challenge reviews. They got those right and corrected a lot of them. But you had what 10 challenges in the whole match in a 4-set match.
Yeah.
Like that's mathematically impossible unless they're missing a lot of calls, right? Because each team only gets 2 challenges. It's I don't man, it was oh, it was rough. So
And not unsurprisingly, but anytime the objection came from North Carolina, I think they were 4 for 4 in getting their wishes fulfilled.
I think they missed one right at the end.
Right at the very end was the last one
Yeah.
that the Tar Heels did not win. But let's say you can expect that on the road, maybe with a quote unquote neutral officiating crew. How neutral they could be then in Wake Forest, I'm not really sure.
I will point out that even the commentator on TV was talking about the number of challenges and the record of each team for challenges. He kept pointing out that Danny Busman Kelly and UofL was 2 for 5 on challenges, right? So 2 successful challenges out of 5 attempts. You only get 2 failed ones before you're
I'm trying to figure out the math there.
How does that work? I don't know if maybe he lost track and I lost track too, because I think I was pretty sure my numbers were with him, or they just let her have an extra one that they weren't supposed to. I don't know.
It was certainly interesting to see the number of stoppages and I was watching both events last night. To be honest with you, I mean, was happy, although a little bit flustered with field hockey at times. Watching that on basically the main screen of my television, and then on my laptop was watching volleyball, and I was just like, "Come on, guys, we're better than this." Anna,
the first talk about the challenges. The first set went a full 45 minutes, which is, normally you think about a half hour per set, so 15 minutes worth of time beyond a normal set from challenges and other game stoppages. It was sorry. Back to you were starting to talk about some of the play and back to that.
Oh yeah, I was going to say that the Cards were basically in this second set. They were punching back and forth with UNC, and as late as 18-17, UNC still had the lead on us. But Louisville got very fortunate, Jeff, in 3 straight points to go up to 20-18, and then basically took 2 out of the next 3 to go up 22-19. And that was the key point that I think in the match right there, that second set, or there were the Cards basically said, "Okay, you're going to try and take 2 in a row from us. We don't see it. Hello, Anna. Hello, L. Let's see what we can do here." And I think that those two, Glock and De Beer, basically came in very, very strong for us when we needed them.
They did. If you're looking at the stats, you're going to see Anna De Beer hitting a 0.26, which is not a great percentage by any stretch of the imagination. But at the end of, I think at the end of the first set, she was hitting like -4 something, which is frankly atrocious. But it was, if I remember correctly, the numbers were like she had 11 errors in her hitting in the first set, if I remember correctly. It may be a little off on these numbers. And you look at the stats, and in the final stats, the total number of errors she had was 11. So like she made all of her mistakes in the first set and then went, okay, now it's time to play. Let me put my game face back on. Let me get, like we talked about, flipping the switch back into executing well and playing well. And she went error free the rest of the match. And, had to climb out of that percentage hole that she dug in the first set, ended up with a, 0.26, which is not great. But if you, narrowed that down to just the last three sets, it would have been a much nicer hitting percentage for her. So, um, unfortunately, you have to count the match as a whole. But you know, this is one of those cases where the stat sheet can kind of fool you a little bit on how the play went, or not tell the full story at least. So
We look forward a little bit then, maybe ahead just quickly to kind of see what's up next for the Cards. And if I'm not mistaken, it's a Duke Sunday,
yeah,
or am I wrong on that?
yeah, it's Duke.
It is
Finished in
Duke,
the North Carolina sweep.
and it will be, of course, down there at Duke.
Yep.
And I left that off my schedule on our Cardinal Couple website somehow. I don't know how I did that, but I did. I have it as playing Pitt next, and of course that is not true. We're going to have one more at Duke. What do we know about this squad, Jeff?
I don't know a whole lot. I need to kind of look and see what they've done as far as who else they played, how well they played. Um, they've had a better year, to my knowledge, than they typically do, but not exactly a stellar one. Is kind of what I know of them so far. So again, with the talent we have, we should be able to beat them. And if this team has really pulled out of this funk that we were in, I think we're going to be okay. But if we kind of play the way we played between Stanford and last night, then we could have some real problems with this. So like anything in the ACC, you can't take it for granted. So
True in quite a few different sports. Uh, Jared, the Cards got a very, very nice out and out of Charity Looper last night, too. Actually led the squad in kills, and she's been kind of a godsend for Danny and the rest of the team showing up on campus, hasn't she?
Yeah, and that's why you bring in a graduate transfer of that caliber, so she can step up and help take over a match when need be, especially as the team has been in a weird kind of funk and slump, as Jeff mentioned recently, and she was a big part of helping them pull out of that last night.
Kara Cressy still continues to impress in the middle a little bit there, Jeff. I think she had 11 on kills last night, and Iko Jones had 10. Is Iko maybe not as big a threat this year as she's been in past years, or is it she kind of slow playing things right now?
I think a lot of people, when they look at Ico, they look at this big, powerful hitter, and I think she's always come up. Maybe I don't want to sound like I'm dogging on her here because I'm going to compliment her big time here in a second. Like maybe she comes up a little short of what people expect as a big right side hitter. She's a very good right side hitter, but maybe not. Maybe doesn't quite live up to the expectations that a lot of people put on her. I think that's maybe what we're seeing a little bit in this. But what I will say is we had probably 4 or 5, maybe 6 plays last night in the match, and 4-set match where Ellie Glock was subbed out for Reese Robbins. And I don't really know what's going on there. I don't know if the coaching staff maybe wanted to have a chat with Ellie, or if they just wanted the extra hitting potential with Reese in there. But that was when they did that. It was when Iko went into the back row, obviously the opposite right side, opposite in the rotation, which leaves UofL on the floor without a setter, without a officially listed setter. Of course, we've got Elena Scott out there, who's a very, very good setter. Played that in high school and club. Um, but the way they lined up and the way they played it in those cases was Iko was setting, which shocks a lot of people when they see her do that. She's quite a competent setter. So like she's really kind of a do-it-all kind of player, utility player. So kudos to her for stepping into a position that she really hasn't played much. She played a little bit in high school and in the club ball and with the Jamaican national program back in when she was high school age and working with that program some. But she did quite a good job in those kind of fill in spots there. So
The Cards in themselves are actually not atop the conference right now in the ACC. FSU is on top of the conference at 5-0, and our old buddies Pitt, they're at 5-0 also. So the Cards have a little bit of work to do to climb back up to the top of the ladder, but they're certainly in sight of where they can get there, I think.
Pitt had a real struggle last night with Georgia Tech. They did win; it was a reverse sweep, but it was quite a struggle getting there.
Cards still have Georgia Tech twice on the schedule as well, so that could be very, very challenging for Louisville to see how they do with that one. And I think one of the things we've got to look at right now is I think I counted up. We have 13 games left in the actual regular season. Of course, all 13 conference opponents. Volleyball schedules in a way that makes sense. They play conference stuff and get it out of the way at the end of the year. They get all the non-conference stuff done early. That's the way I like to see it played. But obviously, it's not, always possible, I guess. But I like it where you're playing conference near the end of the year. So we've outlined two teams right now that Louisville obviously has to catch up with, and FSU, and also a very, very good squad that is coming down here on the 13th, Pittsburgh. Jeff, we get to play each one of these teams twice now, right?
Yeah, and that's part of the conference scheduling. The way the ACC has done it in recent years is you play every team once, and then for the last few matches, the conference will line up what they will. I'm going to say is interesting games, air quotes on interesting, for a variety of reasons. In our case, that means typically we play Notre Dame because we've just traditionally played Notre Dame a lot, and those have had a tendency to go long. Although I don't think that's the case this year. But then at second matches versus Georgia Tech and Pitt, because they're in recent years, those three teams have been at the top of the league, and those tend to make for some really exciting matchups, and also, some post-game resume burnishing there to kind of, make the postseason resume a little better. So, improve RPI, stuff like that a little bit. So, we'll get Pitt twice. We get Georgia Tech twice. I don't know who else is coming in those late.
I think it's Duke and UNC, if I remember correctly.
Yeah.
Our teams have played twice.
Yeah, I don't know why those particularly were picked, but fine. Don't mind playing them again. We'll almost always, as long as like the pattern of who's good in the ACC continues, we're going to see Pitt and Georgia Tech on those trailing games.
Certainly, if you take a look at Louisville, I think if you're an opposing coach, Jared, let's kind of play devil's advocate here, and you're looking at, we got Louisville on the schedule next. Damn, who do we got to worry about? Let's start with the beer. Where do we go after that?
Well, Louisville's got a lot of players you have to game plan for. Yeah, absolutely. Anna DeBeer is just a Louisville treasure at this point, or probably more of a national treasure. But you've got Elena Scott, who to me is the best libero in the country, who can also second as a setter, which is great. Charity Looper has some incredible hops. Jeff was kind of praising Iko and what she can do. We've seen her play some back row defense at times. She was setting last night. She's still an opposite side hitter, and a pretty solid one at that. But then you've got such incredible middle blockers with Kara, Cressy, and PK. And even though they may have had a couple off matches recently, it's still a tough force to go up against at the net. So yeah, who do you game plan against that you think you've got the best shot at? And I guess if you're not a tall team and we're not shooting ourselves in the foot with errors, we've got a pretty good advantage over you.
Yeah, we certainly seem to have that lined up as far as lining up across the net from teams like that.
Yeah. You tell your servers that if you serve to Elena Scott, you're going to run laps, because that's never a good idea.
Yeah, I don't understand why people are still serving to her time and time again.
Yeah.
But they do, and they do it quite regularly. I think was the total on Scott last night? I saw earlier how many digs she had earlier, but lost it. I lost
19.
it now. And so, yeah.
Yeah.
19 mistakes made right
Yeah,
there.
19 serving mistakes. Well, not all of those are going to be on serves, but
But yeah, that's true too. But,
I
so,
don't think any of those will be on serves. It's digs are only on hits that get counted. So
uh, one of the things I think you wonder about a little bit too of this team is obviously the end of this schedule looks extremely difficult to me, where you have to go to Pitt on November 19th, and then just 3 days later you got to play Georgia Tech. And
Yep.
Georgia Tech is tied with us right now in conference at 4-1. Uh, certainly, I think two squads are capable of beating us, Jeff.
oh, absolutely. Either of those two squads are absolutely capable of it. If we don't show up and play well and play a good game, or if they just suddenly have a really good game out of nowhere, absolutely, those are both teams that could really kind of reach up and take us down. Particularly in the funk that we've been in. If we're not truly emerging from that, then we could be in a real tough situation against them.
We do get Florida State at home. I'm surprised that they basically are playing this one in the LNN. You would have thought that this might be another one that they could possibly have moved downtown to the KFCM Center.
Yeah, I don't know if there's a conflict there or what, but yeah, it was not scheduled that way. I think they're still going into this season and scheduling. They were still kind of like seeing this as an experiment to see how well it worked out. Over 12,000 against Kentucky, almost 9,000 against um, uh, Stanford. I think at this point they're confident that this is something that is they're going to have a good outcome, a good crowd available at the KFC Center. So I think next year we'll see maybe 5 or 6 probably there if we can. We've got Nebraska coming in next year. I would expect that to be at the KFC Center would be my bet.
Oh, you would think so.
Yeah, if at all possible.
It's without a doubt at the Yum Center because not only will we bring a great crowd,
Yeah,
but
Nebraska will too.
they
Yeah.
travel well.
Yeah, they travel really, really well. And I will want to see us bring in more than 8,000, right? Because that's what Devaney holds. So that's what Nebraska has on a routine basis. So let's bring in more and kind of show them that, hey, we can bring in a bigger crowd than you're able to. Admittedly, their limit is capacity, not people willing to come. But yeah, I think there's still a little bit of a notional victory to have there.
So as we kind of take a look at the week ahead, then field hockey certainly will have their challenges, and certainly I think get a kind of a breather maybe as far as games go next week. Central Michigan and Indiana, maybe kind of a bit of break in the schedule for salary as they come back into things. Volleyball, well, as we had mentioned earlier, nothing's easy in conference, and volleyball is certainly going to have their test for them, culminating next week with the Friday matchup against Pitt. Fortunately at home, but certainly a game that could be a very, very tough one. And then games coming up this weekend for women's soccer. You have to take a look at some of the things that the Cards will be doing. Hosting Syracuse, and Syracuse is Jared mentioned, and I kind of believe this too, is a beatable team, but the way we're playing right now, I think we're going to have to score. Okay? Let's be honest with you. We got to score, and we haven't been able to score lately. And if you cannot score, guess what? You're not going to win anything. So get something in the net, Cards. We'll find out from there, but we have almost reached the witching hour here of midnight. No, noon. And so let's go ahead. And if we can, roll into our final thoughts. Jared, why don't you go ahead and start us out?
Yeah, we're getting into the meat and bones of the schedule for a lot of these fall teams, and this is where you really have to be able to be gritty and grind out wins when you're in conference play. So I'm looking forward to see how both field hockey and volleyball have such a high ceiling to really pull off some big wins and have success in the postseason. And for women's soccer, I just really want to see them be able to battle down the stretch, because I think the season is pretty much over for them. I just want to see them still continue to battle and fight.
We do want to see that fight continue with them. That's for sure. At least to make an effort at it, guys. Even though you're not going to probably make the tournament or anything like that, show that there's still a heart beating down there at Lynn Stadium. Jeff, what you got?
Yeah, Athletes Unlimited Volleyball got their season underway last night. First, so one game in at this point, obviously very, very early. But of course, with Athletes Unlimited, it actually is an individual competition. You're playing obviously team volleyball, but ultimately the leaderboard is for individuals based on different aspects of the play, what they do on the court. UofL has two alumni involved. Erin Ferris, who's been playing with Athletes Unlimited for 9 years now. So she's been with them since very near the beginning. And Claire Chassé is playing for them this year. Claire went overseas, played in Italy for a bit. She's back. She's playing with Athletes Unlimited for now, and then she'll be playing in the PVF Real Pro Volleyball League starting early next year. But you look at the leaderboard, and Claire's sitting at number 2 right now after one game, after one match. So showing up, playing well, doing a great job. You have an alumna there, and it's great to see. Hope she's ready to be a captain next week, probably, with that sort of output.
As we used to love to say when she was here, beware Claire is in the air.
Feed the bear.
That's right. Feed that bear. And certainly a wonderful person to talk to in addition. So best of luck to her. Final thoughts on this side. Basically, kind of veer away from sports just a little bit. I've been involved with some negotiations concerning my kidneys and such with the University of Cincinnati. I've been very encouraged about the things that they have been telling me and the things that we've been talking about. A couple of big decisions coming up with them this week. I hope to hear positive news on both of those. And so we'll see. So if my sports interest, I guess you could say, wanes a little bit in this upcoming week, it's because I have heavier things on my mind to think about. But certainly I hope we all do well, and hopefully the Cards will do well. But hey, thanks everybody for listening today. Have yourself a great weekend, and we'll catch you here next week for another edition of the Cardinal Couple Radio Hour podcast. Have a good weekend, everybody.